G'day folks, welcome to another episode of the off the cuff rambles, chats, conversation. Today I'm going to be solo, and I think it's episode 9 for me now, and that's come around really quickly. So hey, great to see you all. I think there's plenty of you that are probably going to be in the UK right now, hopefully having a morning tea or a coffee, or done with your first meeting of the day, or sitting through a very boring meeting. That's often what I'm doing anyway. Is listening to good conversations, good banter, and watching some FPL videos in between things. I probably shouldn't reveal that too much, but it depends on the meeting, right? But hope you're sort of fueled up with some coffee. So today is going to be a little bit of a different conversation. So for those of you that haven't joined previously to my off-the-cuff chats, they're very much a one-sided conversation that I probably would have had with myself or a friend or someone else in the community that I'm talking to. And I'm just throwing it on Spaces just to be able to get that engagement. And at the same time, I'm actually videoing the Spaces, and I will be popping that onto my YouTube channel as well. So if you prefer watching with some of the video sort of images and stuff I've got on my screen, that kind of thing, and see my face, then you're welcome to watch it on YouTube as well. That will probably be shortly available. I think maybe like an hour or so afterwards, an hour and a half or so afterwards, depends how long it takes. Like I mentioned, today I'm going to be doing something slightly different than usual. So I'm going to be doing a bit of a retrospective, and usually if you're working in a sort of software environment, in a Scrum Agile kind of place, which is a lot of like the type of work that I do, you're usually working in 1 week sprints. And so that's great for us because obviously a game week lasts a week. And so you're able to look back at the game week, similar to what we do with like the review, and live FPL is really useful for that, to give you a quick sort of summary and review of your game week. But this is a really good opportunity for me to go back and have a look at my game week, and also right from the season beginning. So I'm going to reflect a little bit on, game week 8, because that's what's just been, we've just finished. But also go back to game week 1 and also look at, some of the decisions I made along the way and how it sort of turned out as well. What could I have done differently? And so this time round, I'm actually taking the approach. There's loads of different ways that you can do a retrospective. You can do like a mad, sad and glad. You can do, things like what went well, what didn't go well, that kind of thing. But this time round, I thought I'll try something like liked, lacked and learned. So everything I sort of liked in the season so far between game week 1 and 8, everything that I've lacked, which is plenty. And some of that includes like green arrows. I think I've only had like 2 green arrows. And also I'm going to cover some of the things that I've learned along the way as well. And I'm hoping that I can take some of those learnings into the future game weeks. And probably, it's a really good time to have this reflection point because we're going into an international break. But it's so easy to forget your last game week especially, but the last couple of game weeks, and especially right from the season beginning as well. So I thought I wanted to just get it out of the way as quickly as possible after the game week has ended. So what I'm going to do at the same time is also post into the chat on Spaces just my my game week as well as just so you can see what I'm talking about. I will also post in the chat when I get to it my retrospective as well, so you can follow it along on Spaces as well. And of course, anyone who's watching on YouTube, you can see it on my screen, and you can follow along from there as well. Before I jump into my game week though, I should also mention that I am, as I mentioned, I'm capturing the screen as well. So whatever reactions you can give me on Spaces is really helpful, because that's my way of sort of communicating with all of you. I don't really, I don't have the opportunity when I don't have a guest to, open up the mic as well so everyone can jump in. So whatever reactions you give me, whether they're, like thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever it is, loves, whatever it is, it's very, very much grateful. So thank you. And thank you for tuning in as well. So I will also give you a bit of a life update as well. So these are very informal, and I love sort of talking about some of the things I'm up to as well. So look, over the past week, I had a really great time, conversing with FPL Fran last week. And it was the second time I had a guest on. And I think I'm getting better at working out the kinks from an audio point of view and just setting things up and making sure I've got like a 2-person setup and all of that. And it is quite challenging because like I'm recording it separately on my laptop, but also I'm doing an outward kind of audio broadcast on Spaces as well. So I've learned a lot over the course of the last sort of 8 weeks or so that I've been doing this. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, I have to admit. So also last week I managed to pop over to Canberra. I say pop over like it's like, a train journey away, and, it only takes me like 20 minutes to get there or something like that. But, it's a good 3-hour drive. So what I did in the evening actually, or afternoon, when I had got through my Wednesday, I jumped in the car and started listening to a couple of podcasts and just things like, just again, sort of audio of stuff that I can listen to. I think I was catching like FPL Wire or something like that, and some of the amazing Aussie content that we've got over here in Australia. So yeah, really, really good to be able to do that. But I caught up with FPL Planner, Tien, and also FPL, I think it's Inzaghi, and that's Ryan. So they're both creating their own content as well. And so it was really nice to have a catch up with them, have a couple of beers, and have a burger, and yeah, just talk about our sort of last couple of game weeks, but also wildcards, because I think they were both on wildcards as well. Sounds like it was very successful, and I'm like eyeing up their wildcards with complete FOMO, thinking maybe I should wildcard. I'm not sure, but then I'm looking at my team the whole time as well and thinking, my team looks really good. Why should I wildcard? It's too soon. And by this point, I think I decided that I was going to wildcard in 10. And so, yeah, I wasn't feeling too enthusiastic about wildcarding so soon. Just because, again, when you look at my team on paper, so you can see my team on the Spaces where I've just kind of linked it. On paper, it doesn't look that bad. And so, I was kind of happy with it. So there was no need for me to wildcard. And so I'm listening to the guys, talking about their wildcards and, sort of taking suggestions and tips from them, and popping down some notes as well along the way that, yeah, I should probably think about, just as soon as I activate my wildcard, just bringing in a whole bunch of players that are where their prices are increasing and all of that, all these little strategies in between. And I still wasn't convinced that I was going to wildcard, and I was quite happy with having Son and Maddison. And I have to admit, it was almost like I had my blinkers on or something. With I've got Son and Maddison, and they are playing Luton. That is the optimal players to have in my team, and probably the best combination in terms of points, but also captaincy pick potentially as well. And right up until I think Friday, when I think it was Friday night, and I was supposed to be winding down, and I caught Ellie and Yelena on their stream, and I was like watching them talk to us about their wildcards as well. And I was like, oh shit, everyone's wildcarding. Fuck. Should I be wildcarding? And it's like Friday night, and, I had a bit of time, but I knew my Saturday was going to be really haphazard and busy. And, I was going to be traveling back to Sydney as well. So I didn't want to tie myself down to, tinkering with a very last minute wildcard. And I had totally missed out on all of the price rises and changes as well. So I guess it was more of a bit of a confirmation bias. It was like, well, I've missed out on a bunch of things, so there's no point me thinking about a wild card anymore. I'm just going to see it through, and it'll be fine. And I did end up taking a hit as well, so I'm just going to, for the sake of anyone watching this on YouTube later, I did take a hit. So I managed to take out Wilson from my team and bring in Darwin as the last kind of minute punt. mostly because, I was hearing noise about Wilson potentially starting, and Howell saying all these things about maybe, maybe not, that kind of thing. And so I'd already gone early on my transfer, bringing in cash for Estupinian. Happy with that move. And I think when I was looking at live FPL to see what that hit actually, equated to, I think I gained 3 points after the hit as well. So maybe it was worth it, maybe it wasn't worth it. As I sort of go through my retrospective, you'll sort of see where I've perhaps I could have gone early on the wild card and sort of, done it in game week 8. I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't judge it just yet because I haven't activated it. And so, or have I actually? So yeah, look, right up until Friday, I was convinced that this is all the right moves, and yeah, I sort of saw the deadline through, was happy with what I had, and you can see there, in terms of game week points, I got 50 points in total. Not that awesome. I did have a tiny green arrow. I think it was like 6% green arrow. That was a huge surprise, but you can see my overall rank. 3 mil, so it wasn't much. I think it was like 3.1, and now I'm, on just under 3.1, basically, not much at all. But as a few people mentioned to me on Twitter as well when I posted my my weekly sort of FPL review through live FPL as well. That a green arrow is a green arrow at the end of the day, and I've said this before as well. You've got to celebrate the wins. Whether it's a tiny win, whether it's big or small or whatever it may be, but also to talk about the shit game weeks as well, and where things have gone wrong and where you may want to sort of change a bunch of things as well. So look, I'm generally happy with the team that I had, and so I don't regret what I went into game week 8 with. I did, there was moments where I was thinking, and the experiment, that I was having in my mind anyway, was if game week 8 goes well and I can get away with having Darwin and I don't need to bring in Salah, then maybe I can push out my wild card to game week 10. And so I would have then, gone into game week 9 after international break, just having Darwin in the team, maybe would have transferred out Foden, who I've got right now, and transferred in Diaz, was basically my thinking. And for so long, I had moved the captaincy from Son to Maddison, from Maddison to Son to Maddison. And it was just like this, ping pong game that was going on right up until Saturday, right last minute. And then I thought, you know what, this could be Son's, time to get another hat trick or get, bag a brace or something like that. And so I went from Maddison to Son, and at the back of my mind, I was thinking about Son's minutes could be a risk. He could sort of come off. He could come off early, and I was thinking about the whole sort of early game and captaincy and all that sort of faff with Gandhi and all of that. I have no idea where that comes from, by the way. If anyone has a clue about what the hell this Gandhi and the early kickoff and captaincy thing is about, can you please message me on Spaces or something and just let me know, because it's so confusing. I have no freaking idea what that means. Anyway, so I've just been ignoring that shit, and I thought to myself, and I'd sort of caught Ellie and Yelena's wildcard stream on Friday, and I can't remember which one it was. I think maybe it was Yelena who had Maddison captaincy, and I was thinking, yes, Maddison's probably the best pick. And so I changed my captaincy to Maddison that night, went to bed, and then changed it again. Anyway, so it is what it is. I made a decision from from a lot of thinking that I'd done, and I'm okay with it. Obviously, it didn't work out. I wouldn't have brought in Salah. I think Salah was the best captaincy shout. I'm not saying that as a hindsight type of thing. I do think Salah was the best captaincy shout just because, the form he's had, the consistency he's been sort of displaying. I just couldn't take, I would have had to take a -8 to bring Salah in. And that, so from that point of view, there was no way I was going to take a -8. I've only taken 2 hits this season so far, and not that that's a good thing or a bad thing, because my hits have been paying off to some extent. But I feel like the rest of my team let me down as well. So, having I had Walker. That was always going to be a bit of a risk. They were playing Arsenal, so Saka was a bit of a risk as well. I could have taken Saka out and brought in Son for Saka instead, but I went with Rashford. Glad I went with Rashford because obviously that didn't work out. There was a bunch of moves that I was really happy with. Cash again didn't quite work out, but Estupinian wouldn't have played anyway. Gabriel has got to be the biggest surprise that I brought in, and was really happy that I have persevered, while sort of effing and blinding at Gabriel and Arteta for not playing Gabriel as well. So, I'm quite happy that I sort of persevered there and just held on to him. So, look, I think the parts that have sort of let me down the most, and I'm going to now switch over to my retrospective and just post for you guys who are on Spaces. So what I've done is I've used a virtual collaboration board because when I'm not writing physical post-it notes and I'm not physically around the people that I'm collaborating with, we're using virtual collaboration boards. And I love this particular board. If you want to know which one it is, give me a shout. I think I'm using Miro for this one. So what I've done is just popped up on there, just basically what I'm thinking about from my team point of view over the last 8 game weeks, and what has gone well, not gone well, and what I've learned from the experience as well. So I will sort of, go through most of them. There's not that many like post-it notes on there, but for example, actually, let's start with the wins. Let's start with some good positive things because that's always a good thing. And so if you don't know what a retrospective is, usually you're reflecting on a Scrum sprint or something like that you've worked on. Usually it's software development or you're doing some design kind of work and you're either working in 2-week sprints or 1-week sprints or whatever it may be. And in this case, I'm doing it after 8 weeks, basically. And so in terms of what I've liked so far between game week 1 and 8, I have to admit, I feel like I had a decent start to the season. Not as decent as what I had last season or the season prior, but I was within the, top 1 mil. And, if you consider that I was sitting at, I'm currently sitting at 3 mil, starting 1 mil seems like a treat right now. And so I'm kind of gutted that I had a good start to the season. I really liked how, it sort of kicked off, but it hasn't gone well, since then. So yeah, that's, but we got to focus on the positives, right? So this is the most important thing. We've got to focus on the positives. So look, it was a good start to the season. I have to also admit that I've found it really exciting with in regards to kind of making the gains up as well. So just kind of the challenging myself with the picks that I'm making, and some of them are questionable, and I'll get to that in a moment because I've got a couple of like tickets over here that I've got like post-it notes where they're sitting between 2 columns at the moment. So yeah, I'll come back to that. But it's been really exciting, trying my best in different ways, just challenging myself to explore playing FPL in a slightly different way. And as I mentioned, I took 2 hits, and both the hits have actually paid off as well. So I can't really complain from that point of view. I think I got a tiny red arrow, and then I got a green arrow. So yeah, look, it's all about making gains, and I went all the way down to 4.5 mil or something like that. So to be sitting at 3 mil right now isn't such a bad thing, and I'm trying to make it as relative as possible and stay positive as possible as well. And so you guys actually, I've popped on here as well that I started doing spaces to YouTube, and that's been such a fun experience, like just having, the opportunity to chat to you guys and sort of explore, doing a bit of content creation like this in the most simplistic sort of way. I've really, really enjoyed it, just rambling off. A lot of this stuff is not prepared. I mean, what you're seeing on the screen and what I've posted in the chat, with my retrospective, that was this morning, me just kind of, chucking anything and everything that came to my mind very quickly, spending no more than 5 minutes just kind of getting it out of my brain so that I can talk to you about it in this particular spaces, so and YouTube video. So thank you so much for turning up week after week. Like I mentioned, this is episode 9, and it's been so lovely to talk to you all and get the reactions and the positive comments, and yeah, very, very much appreciated. I will also very quickly just finishing up some of the likes, because they've been a lot of fun, as well, is kind of the decision making process. I've mentioned this several times before. I've really enjoyed the decision making process versus the outcomes side of things, and where I can, I try to focus on the decision-making process side, keep making good decisions. I've probably been having more fun because I've been able to own my decisions as well. And so, if you've heard me say that before, I'm not just saying it. I actually mean that. I've actually really enjoyed having, fun making shit decisions and making good decisions and owning them, and just knowing that, that was all on me, and maintaining a bit of a balance as well, like from a mental health point of view as well, like just laughing it off. And, not because like I'm laughing it off for the sake of laughing it off, but genuinely laughing it off because it is a game within a game. And I get that reminder every time I listen to the FPL SideNet podcast, and I love listening to the to Peterson and Andrew on there, because they started off saying it's about two blokes who love playing a game within a game, and it is a game within a game. And I think we forget that sometimes, that this is a game and it should be fun, and if you're not having fun, something is not right and you should change it. So the two things I had in between, before I go into what was lacking from my sort of past 8 game weeks or so, the two things that I had in the middle was sticking with Gabriel and Pickford. Fuck my life, Pickford. So I'm going to start with Pickford first, because Gabriel, he kind of started to come through a little bit earlier. But Pickford, I could not believe. I think I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something on this morning, and actually, was it this morning? I can't remember now. What is it today? It's Monday, right? Yeah, I think I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning initially and saw that Pickford had a 9-pointer, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I sort of looked at it, and I think I tweeted about it, saw a couple more tweets as well, saw the score from Arsenal City, and then I was like, I'm too tired. I'm just going to snooze for another hour or so because I don't really need to be up. And then I thought it was all a dream. So I opened up Twitter again and saw that, yeah, Pickford had actually scored a 9-pointer. And, yeah, look, I think by this point, I'd already decided that I might not wait until game week 10. And I think, it wasn't so much... It wasn't so much that I was not getting the points that I probably could have got if I had wildcarded in game week 8. It was because the experiment that I had was around, can I go without Salah in game week 9? And look, it might be that game week 9 is the game week that he blanks. Let's not put that into the universe. But given that it's the first game week, and first game of the game week on Saturday, the 21st, I think, of October, anything is possible. And if this whole Gandhi thing is to go by, then yeah, look, yeah, I don't believe in shit like that, but it has happened a fair bit, so I'm starting to convert into a bit of a believer there. So the experiment was, can I go without Salah? And I knew very quickly as I was watching that match. And the thing is, I love supporting Liverpool. Liverpool, like football club, will always come above my FPL team. I tend to not really look at like live FPL during the matches either, and at the most what I'm doing is looking at Twitter, and if any Liverpool player has scored or anything like that, of course I want to celebrate it, and I'm always overjoyed by the success through matches or goals or whatever that Liverpool have. But I remember sort of I think I had a couple of responses to my tweet about Salah. Bagging a brace, saying, I'll be happy. I'll bag the points and I'll be happy instead of you. That's something like that. And I was like, no, I'm really happy. That Liverpool scored, and yeah, it's shit for my rank, and it's shit because I don't have him in my team. But I think at that point I realised that I don't think I could go another game week without having Salah, and he is the most nailed on player in that side. So yeah, look, from that point of view, I knew very quickly it was like, okay, experiment over. But yeah, I realized that I was going to probably activate my wildcard this game week. Well, at this, at the start of the international break, yeah, going into game week 9. So I have activated my wildcard and started sort of making a few transfers, at least the ones that I think are going to be going up in price and going down in price as well. But going back to the ticket, or the post-it that I've got on my screen, and the one where I've said sticking with Gabriel and Pickford. I'm glad I stuck with Gabriel because Saka not playing meant that Gabriel auto subbed on and had an 8-pointer, something I was not expecting, had benched him. But yeah, again, it was, it's just been totally luck and chance, that I've held on to Gabriel this long. Mostly because his price dropped as well. So why would I get rid of, a 4.7 defender from Arsenal who are now, keeping random clean sheets as well, or, exceeding expectations with the clean sheet that they had on the weekend anyway. Look, at the same time, I've kind of like done a little bit of an arrow to jumping off players quicker as well. And I will come back to that, but it's related. But the other sort of post-it I had in between was bringing in Trippier and Wilson. So I'm happy that I brought in Trippier, of course, because Trippier's been just, consecutively returning. Obviously, not so much, the past game week. Well, not as much anyway. The past game week, I should probably say, not necessarily not returning. But yeah, it's not been great, like having Wilson in for that first game week that I had him in. I think it was game week 5 or 6. I think it was 5 actually. And yeah, when I got news that Wilson is probably going to be benched, I was, really gutted. But at the same time, I was happy, but also, it kind of lacked as well. So, if I look at what this actually says, it says, what didn't go well between 1 and 8. And honestly, it kind of went well, but it didn't go well. So I'm a little bit tentative about that one, a bit in the middle there. So yeah, look, again, I feel like I took a hit there. It needed to be done. I was happy with having Wilson. I think if Wilson was fit, that was a good fixture for him on the weekend as well. And as we saw, because Isak got a brace, I believe. So yeah, again, it's one of those things where you hope that players are going to be fit and they turn up and play, and but yeah, it doesn't quite go your way. The other things that I lacked actually, so in the past 8 game weeks, my bench has been shit. It's been absolutely shit. And the thing is, right, it was the first time that I'd been playing where I'd realised how important it is to have playing players on the bench. And so I think I started off with Chukwuemeka, and then I had Baldock and I had Mubama. Now, of course, Baldock has been playing a little bit along the way, and he's been injured, the past couple of game weeks, so that's been a bit of a pain in the arse. But Mubama's not been playing, and I think those of you that brought in Mubama, he had a really good preseason, and so I made the decision to go there as well. Chukwuemeka, I'd sort of moved off, and then I brought in another defender that I'd basically been rotating. So the way I've been rotating, or the way I've been sort of formation wise, I've been playing has been mostly 3-5-2. Or it's been 4-4-2. Sorry, not 3-5-2. 3-5-2 or 4-4-2 is what I've been playing mostly, with just having one player on the bench as cover, and that is just not enough. That is not enough, and time and time again, that's been the issue. Like last game, the previous game week, I think it was game week 7, where I had Estupiñán's -2 points coming from the bench, which was such a shit show, right? And so when you look at it from that point of view, you need a strong bench, and I don't know, I just couldn't prioritize. Given I had so many problems in my team, I just could not prioritize bringing in cover, and so I just carried on having Baldock and Mubama on my bench and just continued that way right up until, now, basically. And so, yeah, I've just not had many options to kind of maneuver and play with. But look, right next to that particular post-it note, I've got transferred out Salah in game week 3 to spread funds. Now, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and I wish I had, I do wish I had held on to Salah because, he had been returning. They hadn't been massive hauls, not like what he had on the weekend. I think that was only his second double-digit haul. So, he wasn't having massive hauls in the first couple of game weeks, and I think I just got impatient. I was almost channeling the jumping off the players quickly card that I've written there. But I think I jumped off a bit too early on Salah. And despite sort of spreading the funds, and I did make good of those funds, like the funds that I spread, I think I brought in Foden, and I think I brought in Mbumo. And unfortunately, Mbumo did not work out at all. And fuck, that's been a really bad transfer. Because I think Mbumo got his points earlier on. I think it was in like game week 1 or 2, or I can't remember now. But yeah, I feel like that was such a bandwagon move, and I'll come to that. I'll come to that in a moment when I look at my learned column, because there was a bunch of things there that I was like, I need to do better here. I made some really rookie mistakes in my first 8 game weeks anyway. So look, I did spread the funds, and it did open up a lot of different avenues as well. So I regret it, but I don't regret it. It's probably my only real kind of regret that I have. But I did gain a whole bunch of points as well, and I, did one of those things where you pop your ID into one of those tools, and it tells you if you had not made the transfers that you did, and this is how better off or worse off you would be. And I think it came off as I would be, better off with the transfers that I did make. So, but of course, the weekend scores are not sort of reflected in that. And so, yeah, I think that's probably one of the regrets that I have, that I probably should have, held on to Salah when there was the opportunity to. And so not only did I get rid of Salah, but I also jumped onto players like Jackson and players like, I think I brought in Jackson, João Pedro. So look, I had the opportunity to go for Alvarez, and I had the opportunity to go and get Watkins, and I didn't. And I think there was a part of me that was like, maybe I shouldn't do that because they seem like really obvious moves. And I think the point is, right, is that sometimes the obvious move is the move. And not to try and get too fancy about it and not, try to be different for the sake of being different, which kind of takes me onto my last column there, which is all the things that I've learned over the past 8 game weeks. I'll start with that particular one anyway, like in terms of, not to go for punt picks or just kind of different picks or the differential picks for the sake of being different. Because sometimes the obvious move is the obvious move, and you should just make the obvious move. And I haven't really been sort of focused on the EO too much, but I probably should have thought about that a little bit more as well. And again, it's a bit of a rookie move, but I think I felt like I could play in a slightly different way instead of going for the obvious move. So going for like a Watkins, going for an Alvarez, just felt like it was too obvious. And I have to admit, I just wanted to be different for the sake of being fucking different, right? And whatever, like I did it, and then it was too late. It was too late to go back. And so I just carried on, unfortunately. But actually, I missed one of the tickets on Lacked, and that was captaincy picks. But I'll come back to that, because that was more of a recent thing that's also happened as well. The other thing that I feel like I did, because I started questioning my gut, and something that I wasn't doing too much of last season even, was trusting my gut. And I did more of that. I did way more of the trust my gut moves. And even now I have been sort of, playing with my gut a little bit more than I had been probably since the first 5 game weeks or so. But I started looking at algorithms a little bit more, and I was looking at, Review and others as well, just to see what it was telling me. And if my gut was saying one thing and the algorithm was saying something entirely different, because I was not getting the outcomes or the instant gratifications from the decisions that I was making, I started to question my gut a lot more. And so I started to follow the algorithm a little bit more as well as a result. So not great. But again, it's something I feel like I've learned now, and something that I'm going to take most of what's in this column and add that into my my notes app, and make sure that I sort of, remind myself as well that these are the types of things that we can easily fall into the trap of doing, just because we're in the heat of the moment, and sometimes we make knee-jerk, moves, and our mind sort of strays in lots of different directions, and we tend to do things that we least expect, and when our emotions are running high as well. So look, the other sort of one that I had on my learned list as well was bandwagons and FOMO. And so this is where I feel like I haven't really jumped on too many bandwagons, because there was the Watkins bandwagon, there was an Alvarez bandwagon. But I decided to do the thing that I shouldn't do, which is trying to be different for the sake of being different. In fact, I feel like I should change this on my screen, to kind of have an arrow pointing at, don't go for punt picks for the sake of being different. So sometimes it's okay to jump on a bandwagon, or, where you have strong FOMO as well. It's really hard to say. Look, at the end of the day, you don't have control over the outcome. You don't have control over how these players are going to play, whether they're going to get injured, whether there's going to be a red card in the game, for God's sake. You just don't know. And so, look, at the end of the day, you have to just play based on the information you have in front of you and what your gut is saying to you and your instincts, all of that. And I hadn't been doing as much of that. So I tend to... I'm going to change that, though, moving forward after this international break, and since I've activated my wildcard, I feel like my season's going to start again now. So the other post-it I've got there, which I've bolded out especially, is that my second forward spot is doomed. I'm convinced that my second forward spot is definitely doomed, because I went from João Pedro to Jackson to Wilson to Darwin. Like, you could make this shit up. You just could not make it up. So going from João Pedro to Jackson and that was a rage transfer as well. I probably shouldn't have done that. But to Jackson to Wilson, and then Wilson getting injured, and then thinking, okay, Darwin's is such a great pick. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was a good pick. I do feel like it was a good pick. But Salah was the pick, right? And I just thought, Wilson's out. I'm going to have to do something about this. I don't have enough bench cover. Not sure how I feel about playing Gabriel. In hindsight, I probably would have just left Wilson there, played Gabriel, and all of a sudden I would be plus, 4 points up. That's probably the only outcome that I would have seen there, but that probably would have given me, places of, 300,000 places, 400,000 places, maybe. And I don't like to think about stuff like that, and I don't like to kind of, go that far ahead. But I'm convinced that my second forward spot is doomed. So now I'm thinking, do I wildcard and have 3 forward spots? And so we don't know which one is the second forward spot. We don't know which one's the first one. And I'll just keep changing them around, because whatever is going on there, I need to break that juju. That bad juju needs to go. I don't know what's going on. But the last one that I have here is around, should I have probably played my wildcard in game week 8? I don't know. I think if I look at it as, the team that I would have brought in game week 8 and the team that I'm potentially bringing in game week 9, probably going to be fairly similar. Would 8 have been similar or different to wildcard 10? Probably a little bit different, because I would have gone for more Brighton players with their fixture, swing as well. Not sure. And I don't want to kind of, get bogged down into thinking about it from that point of view either. So, look, I'm okay with it. I can't really do anything about it now, and I'm fairly sort of happy and satisfied with the decisions that I've made, and it's nice to be able to kind of look back. And it's the same with the captaincy pick. And as I mentioned, I missed out that post-it on the lacked column where I've said captaincy. So I went game week 5 with Maddison, and then game week 8 with Son. And again, look, Maddison and Son came off, I think, at the same time, on the weekend. So it was really hard to know how that was going to happen, right? So yeah, I just went for it from the point of view of the fixture being good and Son being Son and could bag a hat trick or a brace anytime, right? So yeah, I don't regret that. I don't think I would have. I'm trying to think who else I would have captained. If I look back at my team, I don't know who else I would have captained. Like, would I have captained Darwin? Maybe. And I was like toing and froing between Son and Maddison anyway, so I probably would have captained Maddison, I guess, just because of the fixture. And yeah, so I probably would have been a lot more better off if I did take the hit and I captained Maddison. But again, you can't sort of go back in circles and think about these things. It's better to just kind of look at where you are, have the retrospective, think about all the good things that have happened, think about, what was lacking in the game week, and then focus on what you can do moving forward. And so, yeah, that's exactly what, I intend to do. What I'm also showing on my screen, which I won't necessarily pop up onto Spaces, I can sort of talk to you very quickly about some of the transfers that I've made, and I think I already have. But what I've done, and if you're interested, I will pop it up, like chuck an image over there. But I've just put on like a yellow dot or a green dot and a red dot next to the transfers that I made. And so, for example, I took out Salah, brought in Mbumo. I put a red dot next to that. That wasn't a good transfer. Took out Chukwuemeka, brought in Foden. That was a yellow one because Foden did return later on. It wasn't an instant thing, but he did. João Pedro to Jackson was just another idiot. One idiot for another idiot, and it was a shit move. Let's face it. So. But he did return, so Jackson did return, so well done to those that sort of held on to Jackson and still had him in your side. And even more of a well done if you were someone who held on to Sterling as long as you did as well. Like, that's hats off to you. That's pretty damn awesome. Like, give yourself a pat on the back, seriously. I didn't see many people holding on to Sterling, so that was pretty impressive. And yeah, look, so I put a red dot there, Martinelli to Maddison. Actually, that's supposed to be a green dot. Martinelli to Maddison. So I had Martinelli started the season. He was obviously injured, and so I brought in Maddison. That shouldn't be red, that should be green. Chilwell to Trippier was a good move. Jackson to Wilson was a good move. Got some returns there. Estupiñán to Cash, hard to say. It's just been one game week. But given Villa's fixture runs, probably a good move, I'm hoping anyway. And then I did Rashford and Wilson out for Son and Darwin, which I've left as sort of yellow dots on that because I don't think Son was a bad move. I don't know if I'll hold on to Son in my wildcard, game week 9 wildcard. But Darwin, again, it was like an in-betweener because he got an assist, and yeah, so that's how I'm sort of assessing my last 8 game weeks at the moment, and just having a look at, just going back and having a look and just seeing where I've had those green arrows or red arrows. I've only had 2 green arrows this season as well, which doesn't feel like much. I think one of my red arrows was only like a 200 places or something like that. So, 2,000 places or something like that. So it's not much. So yeah, I generally, like I say, I'm really happy with how things have shaped up, and I'm glad that I did this particular activity. I highly recommend that you go away and have a look at that if you do want to sort of do a bit of a retrospective on, how your last 8 game weeks have been. I'm happy with it, but I'm also learning from some of those, mistakes. I'm not going to call them mistakes. I guess like experiments and opportunities that I thought were there in front of me, but didn't really, turn into the opportunity that I thought it would be, is probably the most diplomatic way of saying that. And that's like all the time that I've worked in government and working for ministers and all of that, where I've learned to be as diplomatic as possible in how I kind of talk about that. It doesn't stop me from swearing though. I don't know where that comes from. I can't really help that. So yeah, look, there you go. That is my retrospective, and I guess a bit of a look back at the last 8 game weeks to, yeah, to just have a think about all the things that have worked and not worked, and yeah, it's been a really good experience doing that this morning. Like, I just needed to get it out of my head and then forget about it. I think that's the most important thing, right? Like, you let it out your system, forget about it, and then, you know, take the learnings and some of the, I guess, the different things that you could do, and try and sort of do it from a different perspective and learn from that. So I did activate my wildcard. I'm super excited about it. I am exploring lots of different formations now. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up with. I think I saw a tweet from Fran saying that you know, if you could go back, you'd probably bring in Palmer. Palmer returned on the weekend. I can see how that could be a really good move. You know, bringing in a playing midfielder, you know, at such a low price as well. And I think there are a few, but I think he's like 4.9 at the moment. So yeah, very much tempted to bring him in. And yeah, look, I'm not going to go through like early thoughts on my wildcard just yet. I haven't really had that much time to think about it. Like I mentioned, I thought I was going to be wildcarding in 10, and now I'm, you know, wildcarding in 9. So I've learned to be less stubborn as well over the last couple of seasons. And so, you know, I think in the past, if I had decided I was going to wildcard in a particular game week, I would have stuck to my guns on it as well and just, you know, made it work. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that. That's pretty much it. And actually, before I sort of sign off, I know like I always get a couple of requests to talk on these spaces, and it's a bit of a reminder, you know, for those that have been on before, but also haven't joined previously. These are very much one-sided. They are very much a rambly conversation that I'm having with you guys on, you know, FPL Twitter and the wonderful community that I've been part of over the last couple of years and very much enjoyed being part of as well. And to just be able to share my journey with you as a bit of a vlog, spaces, blog, I don't know, audio sort of journal diary type of thing. And I don't actually capture the audio. If I don't have a guest on with me, I don't actually capture the audio. So it is very much one-sided. So I apologize. I'm not going to be able to take any speakers on the spaces at the moment. But thank you so much for tuning in again. And, you know, please like, please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. As I mentioned, I am doing spaces to YouTube, and so I've captured everything, and I'm going to pop it up on YouTube as well if you're interested in seeing some of the visuals and seeing my god-awful face this evening. Yeah, if you just want to check it out there, you're welcome to do so as well. So please go and like and subscribe as well. It's very, very much appreciated. And thank you again for tuning in. It's wonderful to have an audience with you guys as well. So thanks again. Take it easy and enjoy the international break. And don't think about your red arrows. You know, just focus on the green ones. Focus on the positives. Sending everyone much love as well. So take it easy and catch you again in the next one.
Bye.